welcome back to the Made It Better One and its YouTube channel. I'm your host, Kristen. Today, I'm going to be sharing a bunch of projects, including my latest sweater pattern design. I'm going to be showing you what I got on my very last trip to Joann's, and most importantly, I'm going to be giving away a whole bunch of yarn. So if that sounds like it would be of interest to you, I hope you will stick around. All right, hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of the podcast. So I got a whole bunch of new subscribers recently, and I just want to go over really quick for any new faces here, what kind of videos you can expect. So I generally do 3 types of videos. 1 is tutorials, that's pretty self-explanatory. 2 are vlogs that are usually 20-30 minutes and address a single topic, and then 3 podcast episodes where I share my whips and finished objects and new yarn and typical podcasty stuff. So that is what you are in for today. Let's kick things off with my whips and finished objects. All right, I do have one finished object, but I wasn't sure where I wanted to put this in terms of segments because it is something I designed, but as of right now, there's no pattern for it. So it's not, should I put it in knit design where I talk about things I design, or should I put it in whips and foes? I don't know, but here it is. So I finished both of these mittens. This has my hair on it. Of course it does. Why wouldn't it? So this is some Friends wool that I got from Hobby Yarn or Hobby Yarn or however that's pronounced. And I made these mittens. I have not had mittens of my own in forever. I used to have a lovely pair of cabled mittens and I lost one. And since then, I just have never managed to make myself a pair of mittens. I don't know why. But I got this yarn and I thought, let's go for it. So as I said, there's no pattern for these, so I made them up on the needle. I had a couple of trial and errors. I do have a third mitten knit in a different yarn, slightly heavier yarn, an Aran weight that I think I showed you guys a couple of weeks ago. But these are the ones that are finished. I have 2 of them, and they are, left and right mittens, not, I think the other mitten I have is also a left mitten, so I didn't even have like a pair when I had finished one of each color. So they have some dip stitches down the center, and then these slip stitch cables along the sides. And then obviously the rest is a plain mitten and a nice long doubled cuff. I don't know if I'm going to turn these into a pattern or not. If you want to see a pattern, please do leave a comment. They use a worsted weight yarn, and if a pattern comes, they will come in multiple sizes. But as for now, they're just some mittens for me. However, I did have extra yarn. So I got 3 balls of the yarn from Hobby, and each of these used maybe 2/3, 3/4 of a ball of yarn. So I have 1 and at least a half balls, skeins, hanks left. So I started a hat that hopefully will become a matching hat. Maybe not exactly matching, but with the same motifs. But what I was thinking about doing for a hat was putting these next to each other and kind of alternating them, going back and forth, left and right. They would kind of look like flower petals, maybe. Why won't you focus? There we go. I don't know. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Again, I just kind of eyeballed the hat, so I may have too many stitches here. I did do a nice tubular cast on. Probably should have gone down a needle size to do that because that first row of stitches is looking a little wide, but if I have enough, I'd like this to have a doubled brim. So this is what's left of one of the balls of yarn. I'm going to see how far this gets me and then make a decision about that. It is still, as I just said, very cold here. So the mittens are still going to come in handy, and if this hat becomes an actual hat, it looks like it's still going to come in handy for a while. So that is my finished object slash design. And then what's coming next? Other than that, I don't have any finished objects, of course, but I do have 3 sweaters. Somehow, at least that might actually. I think it's 4, but I'm gonna focus on the 3 that are here. The first is that I have been making some progress on my Roma cardigan. So this is a pattern by Mochi Knits. So I have finished the back yoke and started on the right front. So this is all done. It looks interesting. This is all done in just a slip stitch stockinette. It has a really nice chunky shaping line at the back of the shoulder that looks really neat and tidy. But the rest of the fabric is all of this just slipped stockinette stitch, but it's something you'd usually use for a heel of a sock maybe, but it looks really fun in this whole as the overall fabric for this cardigan, and the fabric it makes is really squishy because you're slipping all of those stitches. So as I said, finished the back, working on the right front, and I have finished the neck shaping. So now I'm just working straight, I believe, down to the bottom of the armhole. All right, so this is the yarn I'm using for this. This is Valley Yarns Westfield. So it is 60% extra fine merino wool, 20% silk, 20% yak. So I wanted something a little bit of a luxurious blend of fibers here. The yarn itself is fine. However, I think I've only used 2 balls and I have found at least 2 knots already. I don't like that. And it is especially annoying in this pattern because you are slipping stitches. So usually if I join a new ball of yarn, I'll work a few stitches with both ends. And usually don't have any trouble blending it in right in the middle of a row. But with the slip stitch pattern, that gets a lot more complicated. That means that because you're slipping those stitches, that newly joined yarn is not going to be as secure because you're not knitting it into all of the next couple of stitches. So there's a join right before the end of this, which is very annoying. And I think it's blended in okay. And then there was another one just a few rows before that because that's where I found a knot. So I am not happy with that aspect of this yarn. Hopefully that ball was just a one-off. I guess we'll see. So far this is, I joined a new ball of yarn for the right front. Nothing yet, but I haven't gotten very far, so we'll see. But I will definitely keep you posted if this continues to be a knotty yarn because I don't like that. So I think I've shown you that one before. It has made an appearance, but this next one is brand new. So on Valentine's Day, I decided I needed to cast on a new project, obviously. And I started my Calm Down cardigan. So this is a pattern by Lily Kate France. It is a saddle shoulder. I am using this very tweedy yarn, so some of the details aren't standing out too much at this point. I think they'll stand out more once it's blocked. But because of the tweed, it is getting obscured a little bit. There's nothing really fancy going on here. It is just ribbing. So ribbed saddles and then a ribbed detail along the side. So this is the left front. I don't really know what's going on with this construction. So normally, if you design a saddle shoulder something, you will knit both saddles. You will then usually, if it's a cardigan, pick up, along the back, cast on for the back neck, pick up along the other back edge of the cardigan, and work the back down to the bottom of the armholes, and then you'll work each front. This one started with one saddle, picked up the front, worked the front all the way down to the armholes, then did the second saddle, and then moved on to the back. I don't know if that's just the way like that she knit it, so that's the way that she decided to write the pattern out. As far as I can tell, there's no particular reason for that. And honestly, I wish I had just knit both saddles at the same time just to get it out of the way, because you are switching needle sizes. You're using a smaller needle size for the saddles because they're done in a rib. But whatever, what's done is done. I guess if I had read through the pattern, I could have made, I mean, I glanced through the pattern, but I probably could have made a better choice had I read it more thoroughly and thought to myself, why don't I just do both saddles? So the saddles have a slip stitch edge, and you actually pick up from the wrong side, which makes them kind of stand out a little bit from the fabric. I am knitting the size 2, which does not give me as much ease as recommended, but I just thought it was too much. It was like 10 to 15 inches of positive ease. I didn't want that. So I think the size 2 is going to give me something like, I don't know, 8 inches of positive ease, which seems like plenty to me for a cardigan. So the yarn I am using is Knit Picks City Tweed DK, actually working from stash. This has been in my stash for a while. It actually looked a little dusty when I got I got it out. So this color is Blue Blood, and this is a lovely blend. It is 55% merino wool, 25 superfine alpaca, and 20% Donegal tweed. I don't know that I have used the DK weight before. I have definitely used the Aran weight, and I really liked the Aran weight. It's very nice and soft. So this is not like a super tightly plied yarn, so it's really good for this kind of project, which is a lot of stockinette, nothing, like no bold cables or anything that really need to stand out. But it is a nice soft yarn, and I do like a nice tweed. So at this point, I will be now working the back down to the bottom of the armholes, and then I guess come back and pick up the right front and work that down to the armholes. So the next step is going to be some short rows. That's fine. It just is a bit of an odd construction. It's not very intuitive to me. As someone who has knit and designed a couple of saddle shoulder sweaters, it seems odd. I'm not happy with the needles. So for a long time, my primary interchangeable set has been Chow Goose, and I love them. But I wanted a second set because I have a lot of whips, and it just got to the point where I was, just always buying more cables and more extra tips. And I was like, oh, maybe I need another set of interchangeable needles, a backup, if you will. And I had heard a lot of good things about the I don't know how that's pronounced, about their needles. So I looked at all the kinds that they had, and I put, I believe I got these for Mother's Day last year, so I asked for them. They are the copper. They're not very pointy, which is fine. They don't need to be super pointy for most things. However, they are swivel needles. Also, again, not super necessary. Fine. This join, it is not smooth. The yarn is constantly getting snagged on it, and it is actually scratching my hand. I'm working on my project. I'm holding this needle in my right hand, and this part is rubbing on my palm, and it's irritating it. And it is the case for, all of the cables. So it's not like this is just a bad cable. All of them are like this. All of them have been irritating my hand and snagging the yarn. So I'm very disappointed in that. Unfortunately, all of my Xiaogus are busy in other projects, so I'm going to have to leave this on here for now, but I'm just sharing my thoughts. I don't like these needles, and I think it's kind of a bummer because they're not cheap. But what are you going to do? At least my sweater's pretty. And then, so sweater number 3. This one is almost a sweater you've seen before. So I was working on the Fable Knitwear Rowena jumper. And it is a bottom-up raglan worked in, with the body worked in 1x1 rib. So I eventually came to the conclusion that it was coming out too small. So I had knit, I don't know, 6 maybe inches of the body. And it is supposed to have negative ease, but it looked too small. And it just kept looking too small. And eventually I pulled it, I didn't even try it on. I was like, even if I can actually put this on, I know it's going to have so much negative ease that I'm not going to like it. So I ripped it out. I still really wanted the sweater though. But it's a bottom-up raglan, and I just hate bottom-up raglans. So I decided, like any rational person, that I was going to use the same yarn and pick one of the Fable Knitwear top-down sweaters, but work the body in the 1x1 rib. So the pattern I went for is the Norma Jean pullover, which is worked in mostly stockinette with some little puff shoulders and a small turtleneck worked in 2x2 rib. I didn't do that. I just, so I worked the neck in a 1x1 rib, and then I started on the increases. So I know this is a black yarn, but you can see you're maintaining these 2 stitches on each shoulder and then increasing on either side. Of course, if you're doing this in stockinette, it's much easier. I am doing it in a 1x1 rib, so I'm alternating between knit increases and purl increases. I also had to work the short rows over the ribbing. That was really fine, although the short row instructions were the number of repeats was a little unclear. But, with a high neck like this, you don't really need as many short rows. It's not as big of a deal. So I am now following those numbers for the Norma Jean, but I am using a 1x1 rib on the front and back, and then the sleeves will be done in stockinette. We'll see how it goes. One thing is, I'm very used to designing things, and so when a stitch count doesn't work or something, I am used to having to say, okay, I have to go back, figure out why this doesn't work, fix it. And I keep trying to do that here and then reminding myself, I don't have to. If I have an extra stitch, I can just delete it. Or, if I were making this a pattern, I would want the knit and purl to line up so that one increase round was all knitwise increases and one was all purlwise. It doesn't do that because the numbers aren't made to do that. They're made for stockinette. But it's fine because I'm not writing a pattern. I'm just doing this for myself. So I haven't gotten too far, as you can see. I just started this a couple of days ago after ripping out the previous one. I'm also using knit picks for this. This is Gloss, which is I believe it's 70/30 merino silk wool, and obviously in black because I really need like a black go with everything sweater in my wardrobe. Sweater number 3. That's a ridiculous number of sweaters given that it is now, well, still very much winter and cold here. It's also almost the end of February, and by the time any of these are finished, it's most likely going to be far too warm to wear. But there you go. 3 sweaters. Those are all my whips and 1 finished object. All right, so as you may have heard, or presumably heard, unless you are really, really not watching the news, Joann's has again filed for bankruptcy, and they are closing almost all of their stores. So the last report I read said they had about 800 stores, and they're closing over 500. And looking at the list, it looks like all of their Maryland stores are closing. If you've been watching for a while, you know that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Joann's. I know that the stock varies depending on where you are. My Joann's, their yarn selection is just terrible. It is almost entirely acrylic and synthetics. If you missed it, I did have a video where I went shopping at Joann and Michael's to try to find some wool yarns. And while I know other people have a different experience, very little wool at either of those stores for me. And I've always been irritated by their button selection, which is like they will have some cute buttons, but they will have like one little sheet of 3 buttons. But I sew as well, although I've not been sewing a whole lot recently, kind of lost my sojo. And I have found some nice fabrics there. And, you know, I can pop over there if I need a zipper or sewing machine needles or whatever. So it is unfortunate that that is no longer going to be an option. But I did stop by this week. I don't know exactly when they are closing. They're not closed yet. Because I needed a zipper I have been slowly working on a pair of pants that has been on hold for a couple of weeks because I didn't have a zipper. So I decided to pop over there and get the zipper I needed. And I picked up a few other things while I was there. So I just thought I would show you. I did look for yarn while I was there. And they have still plenty of acrylic and other mostly acrylic yarns or polyester, things like that, a little bit of cotton. The only wool I could find there was, so I think in the past I have found fisherman's wool. The only wool I could find there was this 2 balls of this Eddie Bauer Woolpaca, which I have purchased and attempted to use in the past and don't like, but we're not here to talk about that today. That was all they had. But they had some other stuff. So first, this is not new. This is a bag I bought from them a while ago that is just so cute. My little woodland friends. I love this for keeping the spirit of fall alive. I should have gotten some more bags while I was there, but oh well. So I got the zipper that I needed. Zipper selection was already looking very picked over. And I got a spool of black sewing thread because you kind of always need that. But more importantly, I got this really cute pattern. So I think this is it's not Mimi G, but it's like No Me is the line that she sponsors or something, which brings together like independent sewing pattern designers. So the pattern is actually by Aronica B. Cole. And it's just really cute, this dress. I love this. So summery. And actually the pattern also has a jumpsuit version. I don't know what you can see because I can't see. I'm showing you. Yes, it has a jumpsuit version. Maybe we'll get there. I have a love-hate relationship with jumpsuits because they're so impossible to go to the bathroom in. I bought this for the cute dress. And all their patterns were, I think, 20% off. It's not all that easy to kind of browse for patterns because they just have like filing cabinets full of them. But they also have those like spinny towers. And they had a spinny tower full of the No Me patterns. So I was just looking at them and happened to find this. If you know what pattern you're looking for, it's easy to search there by the number. But just browsing for patterns is not great. And I got some fabric to go with it. So this is a cotton eyelet, 100% cotton. So I spotted this in both white and blue. And the white, I would have gotten the white. It wasn't sheer, but it was definitely not opaque. So I would have had to like line it or wear a slip. This is not really something you can wear a slip with. And I was definitely not going to line it. So I opted for the blue, even though I think the white is a little more summery. So I got 3 yards of this. This was also on sale. I mean, it is a liquidation store, but like some stuff is, I guess, more on sale than other stuff. I guess they have a timeline for liquidating everything. So they're starting to put stuff on sale, but it's like 20, 25%, not like 75% or anything like that. But I did get hopefully enough of this for that dress. I think the reason I really haven't been sewing is that I had like that major sewing fail at the end of 2024, and I don't know. We'll see how we move forward. I have not been feeling it, but and then the last thing I got is knitting themed, and it's really cute stickers. So these are just adorable, and I think there are several sheets in here because it says 39 stickers. So just so cute. Little sheep, little cats, absolutely adorable. I just love them. I've never, this is actually from Big Twist, which I know is one of the yarn brands that they have. Um, I don't know if that's an in-house brand or what. I've never seen these stickers there before or like anything like this, but they're really cute. So I did get those. Now, as I said, sharing what I got at my last trip to Joann's. I don't know when they're closing, but I don't plan to go again because it is very chaotic inside. So it's always been a bit of a challenge to, especially looking for fabric, been a bit of a challenge to find what you're looking for. But now it's just there's like carts everywhere. Everything's been moved around, so none of the signs match what is in the drawers below, and the fabric is just I just happened to be walking by what is usually their clearance rack when I saw that fabric, um, and a couple of other like fashion fabrics there. But overall, it's complete chaos, and most of the fabric that was in there looked like it was fleece, and everything else. It was just there's no way I'm going to go and try to sort. I don't have the patience or the fortitude to do that. So I do not plan to go to Joann's again before they officially close. But I am glad I got to swing by and get some nice fabric. One thing I noticed, I was like, oh, maybe I should just pick up some sewing machine needles while I'm here. None of the Singer needles were there. So I feel like they have some kind of arrangement with the Singer company that they just sent them all back to the company, because none of that name brand. They had some of the Schmetz Universal needles, but they did not have any of the Singer stuff. Major liquidation doesn't seem to have started yet, but definitely the store is it's something. If you have the patience for that kind of environment, you definitely might want to check that out. But that is my last trip to Joann's. Well, I do actually have a design finished object, so I will share that with you. You will notice I'm not wearing it. That is because it's 22 degrees. Um, and so this is really more for like March, I guess, weather, or I don't know, like 50-degree weather. Um, so I recently published this pattern. This is called Wintarmanoth. And this is a drapey sport weight pullover with a very luxurious yarn. So this was worked in collaboration with Knit Picks, and this uses their Yakish yarn. Ta-da! So Yakish is a sport weight blend of 55% baby alpaca, 35% superwash merino, and 10% yak. And it is very soft. It is nicely plied, a nice springy yarn. I will say, as it knits up, it looks a little lumpy bumpy, but it blocks out very nicely. It has just a little bit of halo. It's so comfortable. It's really comfortable to wear. This sweater is worked in the Seawall colorway. And let's take a look. So let me first, I'll put either some B-roll or some photos in here of me actually wearing the sweater. So the yoke shaping will probably keep you busy. You are going to cast on for the front neck. You are going to start working shoulder shaping while working short rows to shape the front neck so that it scoops down. The shoulder shaping details are accented with this little right twist and left twist cables, or left and right and left, I don't know. And you are going to work that from the front all the way down to the bottom of the armhole. Now I stopped my cables there. I didn't want them to run all the way down the body, but if you like that, you could absolutely do that. There's no reason you couldn't. You just keep working instead of switching to stockinette. Then you're going to pick up along those shoulder edges here for the back. The back is all plain. So you're going to work up and over the top of the shoulder and then down to the bottom of the armholes. Then you're going to join in the round, and the rest is some lovely stockinette worked in the round. I've got wide sleeves, so there is no sleeve shaping here. These are straight all the way from the bottom of the armhole. All of the hem and cuffs are worked in a half twisted rib, which means you purl the pearls normally and twist the knit stitches. And they are designed not to pull inward, but to just be straight. And that is the case with the hem as well. You can see they're very wide. So it's about 3 inches for the hem and the cuffs. And then lastly, you're going to pick up around the collar and work your twisted rib for about 1 inch, your desired length. And then you're done. Everything is finished with an Italian bind off, which I think gives it a very nice, neat finish. You could certainly substitute any other bind off that you like. Again, this is not a super complicated pattern. The front yoke is going to be the busiest part. On the other hand, it does make some nice TV knitting because it is so much stockinette in the round with very little, just a little bit of shaping on the body, and it has a slight A-line shape. This is not a super long sweater. Obviously, you can make sweaters as long as you want. This has a slightly cropped body so that it hits kind of right at the top of the waistband. For probably most people, I'm rather short-waisted, so you might notice in the pictures it's a little bit longer than that on me. You do have a little bit of increasing to keep track on around the neck, as I said, down the shoulder shaping, but it's also very forgiving in that if you're off by a stitch or what, it's no big deal because there's no stitch patterns that you're working into. So a little on the simple side. This is very light. The fabric is very light. It's very drapey. It moves a lot. It moves with you. It's very soft. It does have a little halo. I guess, I don't know if you can see really, but it does have a subtle halo, a little bit coziness. I think that comes from the alpaca. But this is something that is just going to be comfy to wear, as I said, not now when it's 22 degrees, but in March or April when it's 50 degrees and you still want to wear your hand knits and it's still chilly, but you have an open neckline, no big chunky collars. You got a light drapey fabric, not all these, heavy layers. So it's a nice, I think, transitional piece for the late winter, perhaps early spring, depending on where you live. Now let's talk about the yarn giveaway. So Knit Picks has generously provided me with a sweater quantity of Yakish to give away. Even better, they sent me 14 balls of this, which is enough for up to a size 2X. However, I have 3 balls left over from the yarn they sent me to make this sample, which means actually I have 17 balls of the Yakish to send to you. That is enough to knit up to the size 4X. So I'm sorry, it's not enough to knit the very largest size, but it is enough to knit sizes 1 through 9. I am going to give this away to one lucky person who watches this video and leaves a comment below. Also below in the description box, you will find a link to a bundle of sport weight sweaters. So while I would absolutely love if you would knit my sweater pattern, maybe it's just not your style. That's the way things are. So check out the bundle of other sport weight sweater patterns that I have linked. Leave a comment. Let me know what sweater you would knit with this. I will not be offended if you do not say the name of my sweater. It is fine. But leave a comment letting me know what sweater you would knit with this sport weight yarn. And in a video 2 weeks from now, so not Saturday, March 1st, but the Saturday after that, I will announce the winner. Again, this is a lovely yarn. It is so soft. These are 12 bucks a ball, so almost $200 worth of yarn for free to one lucky viewer. Do not forget to comment and then pop back here in 2 weeks when I will announce the winner. If you're interested in the sweater pattern, make sure that you click the link in the description box below. You can find the pattern. You can find all of the details. I've got the schematic is on the pattern page on Ravelry so that you can see all the measurements. If you don't use Ravelry, you can also find it on PayHip. And as I said, you can get it directly from the Knit Picks website as well. If you want discounts on patterns, make sure you're signed up for my newsletter, because those subscribers are the ones that get the discounts for not just this pattern, but all of my patterns. So be sure to check that out as well. So just a little bit of chatter here at the end of the podcast. This isn't in every podcast, but sometimes I do just do a little life update or random thoughts or whatever. So if you're not interested in that, you are welcome to move along. Don't forget to enter for the yarn giveaway. But for anyone else, after January just dragged on, February is zipping by. And I did do a few weeks ago a video on kind of Valentine's Day themed patterns. And somebody left a comment that said, not asked, but said, consider keeping your videos politics free. And so I just wanted to address that really quickly. I don't do long political rants on here. My Instagram is another story. What I had said in that video that apparently was too political was that everything was a shit show. If you don't agree with that, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like maybe you should read the news. But I did want to comment two things. So one is that being able to ignore politics is a privilege, mostly because it means you are not one of the minority groups being targeted by politics. However, if you want to do that, that is absolutely your choice. Fine. It doesn't mean you get to tell other people that they have to create that space for you that is politics free. So you'll remember the video I did a couple weeks ago lamenting the lack of variety in the patterns that we're seeing people knitting on podcasts. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to feel that way. I would not then go to a podcaster that I do not know and say, consider knitting some other stuff because I'm bored with what you're like. No, you would not do that. Number two, I live in the Maryland suburbs of Washington, D.C. My husband works for an intergovernmental organization that has been defunded by the US government, and I have two autistic children who have IEPs that are being threatened by the potential dismantling of the Department of Education. So, while I am not going to go on any political rants here today, I have opinions about this administration, and you might hear them from time to time. This is not a political podcast. I'm not going to be doing political episodes, but I'm also not going to censor myself. So if you don't enjoy that, this is probably not the space for you.
Bye.
Other life stuff. JJ, my oldest son, is away from home for the first time. So all of the, as I said, sixth graders in Montgomery County, Maryland, do this outdoor education program. And he's gone. He left this morning and he will be back on Friday afternoon. So this is his first time away from home overnight. He has had some challenges in school this year. Just, as I said, he's on the spectrum. Interacting with other kids is a challenge for him. Disturbances to his schedule, to his routine can be challenging. So I don't know how it's going to go. I have been... So he left this morning and he was a little upset. As I said, I'll be chaperoning tomorrow. So, he will see me again in less than 24 hours. So he was upset. My youngest son was upset. He was crying because he was going to miss his brother. All they do is fight. So I don't know how he's going to miss him. And then all day I've been like watching my phone because they're not allowed to bring phones, which I think is good. Generally. But there are phones there if somebody, if a chaperone or a teacher needs to reach me, or if he needs to reach me for whatever reason, they have phones, but I don't know what the numbers might be that he's calling from. So first thing this morning, I got a call from Clear Spring, Maryland, and my youngest son goes to Clear Spring Elementary. So immediately I was like, oh, something's wrong with Ollie. He's too upset about JJ being, no, it was some guy trying to sell me roofing stuff. And then I get a call from JJ's middle school. So I'm like panicking, and they were like, oh, we're just calling to schedule his IEP meeting. It's May 21st. I'm like, did this have to happen? Did you need to call me today? This was the day you had to call me. So I'm like really on edge, but I hope he's doing well. And while I was recording, I got another call from an unknown number. They didn't leave a message, and I was going to answer it, but I accidentally hit the hang up button. So I assumed they would call back or leave a message, and they didn't. So must have just been a scam, but I'm really on edge with that. And I hope he is doing okay, but also I really am not looking forward to chaperoning this thing tomorrow. I'm going to be there all day. It's outdoor ed, so we're going to be outside. It's in the 20s. Obviously, at least I have enough woolens. I don't know what exactly that. I know one part of their thing is like a stream study. I'm not a nature-y person. I mean, at least this time of year there aren't really bugs, so that's good. But an entire day outside with a class full of sixth graders is not my idea of a good time. But I know it will make JJ happy. But I'm really looking forward to getting to Friday when he will be back home and everything will settle back to normal. And we can just, snuggle inside because it just refuses to get any warmer. I did see maybe a warm up next week into like the 50s. That would be nice. Other than that, very cold. We're staying inside. We're not doing much. I am really looking forward to March, mostly because other than hopefully it's going to warm up, I think it's the only month of the year I don't have to plan anything. There's no holidays. There's no birthdays. There's no reasons we need to have a party of any kind. Nothing. So fall and Christmas are always the busiest, but then January comes, I have my sister's birthday, and we have our family's annual sour beef. February is JJ's birthday and Valentine's Day. And then we get into Easter, and then it starts being summer, and March, I think, is not a whole lot going on, and I am really looking forward to that. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me for this new episode of the podcast. Do not forget, leave a comment, tell me which sweater you would knit so you can be entered to win that lovely yarn. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. New knitting videos here every Saturday. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Mini Peruana, and I will see you soon in another video.